Ooh, that feels good. I had an emotional release just from saying that word.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I'm singing Moana in my head because she was a wayfinder. What lies beyond?
I love it. So now instead of rooting to being crazy is okay, instead of that, root to I am a wayfinder. It's not that you're crazy, it's that you're a wayfinder. And because you're a wayfinder, that's the exact reason people should listen to you. And it's a
Oh my gosh.
no-brainer.
When we get around other people, the parts we are missing, if they have it, it plugs in. For example, when I'm really needing to make sure I get a lot of work done, I go to a coffee shop so that I can plug in to people around me who have that defined willpower center. Welcome to Embodying You, a podcast of spiritual exploration where nothing is off limits. You'll hear raw, behind the scenes stories from people awakening to their soul's path and how they became the healers, mystics, and intuitives they are today. You'll also experience real-time intuitive sessions and healings where struggles transform into breakthroughs that you can bring into your own life. Along the way, you just might recognize yourself in the stories shared. This is Embodying You. Welcome to today's podcast. Today, I'm going to be sharing a story about a friendship that I had that was very near and dear to me, and how once I released and finally let go of that friendship, so much opened up for me. Deeper friendships came after that. A community of spiritual people who are going through a lot of the same things as me, and people willing to really, really look deep and do the inner work. And not only that, but more money came, more belief in myself, more belief that I can actually be my own leader. I can follow my intuition. I can trust myself. So many things opened up, but it wasn't easy going through it. What it is it's about telling my story and what I learned from it, because it is so true that every soul we come into contact with, I don't care if it's for a few seconds, if it's driving down the highway, if it's someone who comes into your life for years, there's a soul contract there. I truly, truly believe that. I remember that human design really helped this sink in for me, because in human design, there is this belief that we have all these bits and pieces of our human design chart. And we have some areas that for us are consistent. And then we have some areas where we are inconsistent. And when we get around other people, the parts we are missing, if they have it, it plugs in and we're able to draw on that energy. For example, when I'm really needing to make sure I get a lot of work done, I don't have a defined will center. And the will center is about, well, willpower, right? There's more involved, but that's the main thing that wants to be said right now. Willpower. So I go to a coffee shop so that I can plug in to people around me who have that defined willpower center. That's part of what happened with this person. I had no clue back then that this was a thing, right? But what I saw in this person, I desired. She was ambitious. She was a woman who made a lot of money, but yet was still really grounded. She was someone who was spiritual, but yet could connect with anybody, rather than how I always thought of spirituality, which was what the movies showed you, right? Like being spiritual was always portrayed. It's almost like you're this ditzy spiritual person, and oh, you're tuning in, and hold on, let me give you some intuitive advice. And then they give them advice like, you've had a boyfriend or something like that. Well, of course, I've had a boyfriend or a girlfriend, right? So that was how spirituality was always laid out for me. But here's this person who was just a normal human. while we were friends, she bought a home. No idea how much how much she actually bought it for. It was a good, probably $300,000 house, if I had to guess. And when we were talking about it, she was saying that she purchased the house, that when she purchased it, she wanted a payment that she could afford, even if her and the person she was with broke up. And I thought, you mean a woman can't afford a house like this? And not only that, but she makes enough to where she can easily afford it on her own and still go on trips, because trips were really important to her. So it was just mind blowing to me. And I wanted to plug into those qualities, although I didn't quite know that consciously. And so that's one of the ways that it might be a good thing to plug into someone, because she was showing me what a successful, ambitious woman who's working on balance in her life between family and work and the inner work, and who is also expanding herself in education. She loved learning new things and getting certificates and adding that into how she helped people. So all of those things were very expansive to me, very expansive. Now, how it might not be a good thing is if you have someone around you who does not believe they can achieve anything, who is desiring to be a stay-at-home wife and mom, not because that's actually her soul pull, because that can most certainly be a woman's soul pull, to be the nurturer, to nurture the house, nurture the children, nurture her spouse, her partner. You don't have to be married for this, obviously, but if someone is wanting to do that because they are too scared, they're too scared to try, they are scared of their own voice. And by the way, I'm talking about me. There was a time when I wanted to be a stay-at-home wife and mom because I was afraid of trying. I was afraid of failure. And honestly, I didn't think that I could achieve anything because I'm a woman. And so if we are plugged into someone like that, or those are the people that we are hanging around with most of the time, or people who don't believe in themselves, well, then we are plugging into that programming. We start taking on their programming if they are someone who we are around a lot. And especially if there's someone we really look up to for whatever the reason is. And so again, for me, that was something that was very real for me when my daughter was born. My daughter is she'll be 8 in January. And at that time, I was actually scared of the thought of having to go back to work, because I thought, I don't know what I'm going to do or how I'm going to do it. Or I was scared. And I actually knew that I consciously made the choice to try for another child when she was about a year old, because I was scared. It was an excuse to be able to stay home longer. Is what it was. And the thing is, I think this can be very real for us. I wasn't aware that this was a problem. I wasn't aware that I was wanting another child out of fear. Now, as the universe would have it, as fate would have it on my soul path, well, what my body ended up doing was going into early menopause. And that's a story for another time. I do believe that it was because my soul path was not to stay with that man. Our time was coming to a close. And my soul did not want to follow the fear. And so again, there's so much more to say about that part of the story. I had breast implant illness also, which I'm sure contributed to the menopause, but honestly, I think it was me shutting down my creative abilities. I didn't even know you could have creativity in business, which is everything I do now. Everything is intuitively, it comes to me intuitively as to what I am meant to do in my business, or what I'm meant to share here with you all. Okay, let's go ahead and go to the story that was the inspiration for this podcast today. So this friendship that I had was one where we were both going through very similar things. We both had relationships with some very big issues going on, issues that, looking outside, it was the other person, right? It was the people we were with that were doing this thing or doing that thing. And so we bonded over that because we didn't even know that each other were having those issues in our intimate relationships until one day one of us opened up and the other one was like, oh my gosh, I'm having the exact same issue. It was a very fast bond between us. And as my relationship was ending and she was weaving through hers, and she also got separated around the same time, it was this coming together. We really explored a lot together. It was a very deep friendship for a couple of years. And then when I look back, I was being slow played. I was being slow played, but yet there were these moments of giving me breadcrumbs. I did not realize back then I was being given breadcrumbs. So an example of this is, let's say I'd been reaching out here and there to see if she wanted to hang out. And she would say, I'm just really in deep reflection right now, and I'm just spending time with only family. And okay, yeah, no problem. Totally get that. Especially I'd already done codependency work to work on what other people do isn't about me. I already knew about reflections, that anything I feel about her saying she couldn't meet up or whatever it is, and especially with how long it had been since we had met up, is for me to heal. So I'm just over here going, all right, I honor you. I honor your energy. I know also a little bit of what's going on with her and her family. So I'm going to honor that. And I'm going to work on my feelings about it. But yet she would occasionally say, hey, do you want to come over? But she was working on boundaries. We were both working on boundaries. And so she was like, from 1 to 3. And so where I was back then, not knowing that I was anxiously attached, and I now know she was on the avoidance spectrum. Okay. So the moment she would say, hey, you want to come over? I was like, oh, she does like me. That little girl part of me was like, she likes me. She really likes me. And then when I fast forward to one of the last times that we hung out in person, I was moving. And she reached out to me and said, hey, I would love to come and help you pack. And I'm going to reach out to these 2 or 3 people and see if they also want to come and help pack. So again, this piece of me was sitting in this energy of, oh my gosh, see, it's just in my head. She likes me. And so her and one of the other women was able to come. So they came, and, a timeline was set, which is totally cool. Setting a boundary of, I can only stay for this many hours. Fucking amazing, right? So good. So she and the friend came. Breadcrumbs, because I was still being slow played after that. So as I am in my new home, and it's this home that I'm in right now, which was such a manifestation, just an incredible story. But I'm in this home. I am figuring myself out. I'm figuring out as a single woman for the first time, like buying a home. I love fixing up homes. It's what I've done in the past. I bought several homes that were fixer-uppers. And that's what this one was. And I'm trying to figure out, what do I do? And at the same time, I'm figuring out, well, it's around this time that I get certified in human design. It's around this time that I meet someone who will change my life forever. Now, her name is Amy Michelle. What our friendship did was put me on this spiritual path that I had been on to major rapid growth really, really quickly. So kind of like 0 to 100 in just a few years. And except I wasn't at zero because that wouldn't be giving myself credit, but it was a rapid growth. And so I'm just learning so much about myself. Well, during this time that I'm having all these changes and these shifts, I listened to a podcast that I love. It's Allison Charles. She's a shaman. I love her podcast too. And she had a man named Frank Elleriti on her podcast. And he was talking about emotion code. And he was talking about how you can release emotions that are trapped in your body that are keeping you from whatever it is you want. And he told a story about someone in the news who was having trouble finding a job. She'd been looking for a while. And after one session, she had follow-up sessions for this issue, but she only needed the one session. And within a week, she got a job when she had been, I forget how many months, without finding the job. And then he gave other examples of some really big shifts that people have, whether it's in regards to work, or maybe it's that they're always procrastinating. And so you can do energy work on things like procrastination, which has been such a thing for me. It has improved wildly over this time. But what was interesting is my sessions with Frank, they centered around bringing in money. So as he's clearing on me, as he's clearing just emotions, okay, just emotions, I'm having all these epiphanies with each thing he releases. And now I know it's intuition that was coming in and saying, oh, it's from this. Oh, it's from this. Almost everything we released had to do with the man, with the intimate partner that I was with, because I saw him as really successful, but I didn't see myself that way. So it's almost like I was wanting him to save me still in that department. And so I was just seeing all of these things. And I was even saying to Frank, this is so interesting. Almost all of this, here I am wanting money, but we keep releasing things relating to my last relationship. And I know there were other areas that came up too, but that was the bulk of it. And it wasn't too long. I think it was about 3 weeks after that session that I'm talking to a good friend of mine. And I'm just voicing out my feelings. Well, I haven't really hung out with her for a while, and, just saying things like that. And, oh, I know that she is conserving her energy, and, I know this and that's going on with her and all that. And finally, I guess my friend had enough because she had a little bit of inside information. And she said, okay, Tiffany, I can't do this anymore. Your intuition about that friendship is correct. She is slow playing you. And then she gave me some examples, and I don't gossip with my friends. I talk about how I'm feeling. I used to gossip a lot, but now I don't even feel the need, because I know everything that happens outside of me is for me to heal. And once I heal it, it's no longer a problem. And even if it's still there as a perceived issue, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same. And so this friend, when she told me, no, you are correct, and she gave me specific examples of what this friend had said, again, also not gossiping about me, just saying, okay, it's wanting to come through one example that she had said that this friend was present for. And it was basically, she was asking just these two friends that I also had gotten close to, does Tiffany copy what you all do? Like, it feels like she copies me. It makes me really uncomfortable. And what this friend said is that the other two were like, no, I don't get that. And my friend said to me, like, I actually feel like that's not about you. But what that did for me is, well, for one thing, it was hurtful, but then I was able to look more at myself, right? And how I'm a 1-3 in human design. And I like to investigate something, whether it's a subject that I dive into or it's a person's life. Because a lot of times in human design, people will think of the one-line investigator as someone who just dives down the rabbit hole with subjects. But we're all human beings, and human design is just an experiment and a loose framework. And so for me, a lot of my investigation happens from observing other people. It always has. And I will take bits and pieces of what they do and I will infuse it into my life and figure out, okay, I like this. I'm going to keep this. I don't like this. I'm going to get rid of this. And that same friend who was saying this to her friends actually asked me one day, because again, she was doing her own reflecting. And she said, do you feel like part of your investigative side is investigating people's lives? And when she said that, it was such an epiphany for me. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes, I used to feel like a follower, but when it really comes down to it, I don't follow what people do. You know, I don't follow every single thing that they do. So anyway, but that was what she had said that bothered her. Now, I don't know what else was there. I mean, I have intuition about a few things. When I talk about the anxious attachment and the avoidant attachment, that came into it because part of what was there too, that feels like it's important to say, is that I like to go really deep in my conversations. I'm not afraid to go deep in every conversation. I'm not afraid to get down to the root and talk about, you know, oh, okay, what's really happening here? What's really happening here? And I'm an open book. I'm an open book. You could ask me literally anything, and I will probably tell you if it is something about me, right? If it is something about me, I'm an open book because I've seen over and over again that when we share ourselves authentically and we let whatever comes to us intuitively, we're not emotionally dumping on people. It's when something comes to you, like, I feel like I need to share this story with this person, or I feel like I need to share this thing with this person. Ask them permission first. I've learned my lesson with giving unsolicited advice. Thank you, Codependence Anonymous. So after energy work, after having all these things released, that is when I was finally ready energetically to learn this information about this friend. And then to see so clearly, because I'd been working on seeing patterns in my life and seeing the energetics. What I saw was that with this friend, I had replaced my partner as we were ending. My energy was like, oh, you're similar to him. Let me bring you into my life. And I was not aware of that at the time, but once I realized that, I thought, oh my gosh, okay, amazing. What an amazing learning lesson. And going forward, I can pay attention for, am I doing that in this friendship or in this relationship? What's underlying this? And even if I do that again in some form or fashion, that's also okay because it's my soul wanting to learn and evolve in that way. And so when I finally let go of this friendship that I was holding on to, because number one, we'd been through so much together and I thought we were like super deep, close friends. I thought we'd be friends forever, together forever. I thought we'd be together forever. And then she was also spiritual and grounded and involved in the yoga community. And she had a group of friends here. And the friends that I met, I loved. And one of them I'm still great friends with. But I wanted her to save me. I wanted her to save me. She even started up a business and wanted me and one of our other friends to be a part of it. I could see it all playing out. I could see me being saved and me being able to make all this money and me being able to do this and do that and have so much fun. So I was also in whatever ways that she might be able to, wanting her to save me. So in getting rid of that energy and the way that I was able to, then it actually allowed for me to connect deeper in the communities that I was starting to be a part of, these spiritual communities, because I was no longer expecting her to save me. Those of you can see in the video, my cat Noski Kristoff has come to join. Noski for his little white paws, because it's Russian for socks. My son was obsessed with Russia. And then Kristoff, if you've watched Frozen, you know, that was my daughter's contribution. So I was holding on to her because of the spiritual aspect and because of wanting her to save me. Oh, so what it did was it opened me up to more spiritual community, whether it was in the human design group that I joined, people locally. It just opened me up because I was no longer just trying to be in her tribe, right? No longer trying to be invited to her things or invited to this event or that event, or be feeling left out if I wasn't invited to her birthday dinner when I had been invited before. All those things, right? I'm sure that you all can understand those feelings. I was holding on to her for all of the wrong reasons, but I didn't know it yet. The other thing that I want to say, so big, that happened as a result of her giving me the gift of slow playing me, her giving me the gift of ending that friendship. It was not in my mind that I was being slow played. And so my spiritual gifts really opened after that. And I'm tuning into, because that's never really come up for me before. I never really realized that. So I'm tuning into, why was it the ending of that friendship part of what opened up my spiritual gifts? Well, it's much like the partner that I ended the relationship with. When I look back at the partnership that ended, that was super, super painful and how it ended, I only look back on it with so much gratitude now. So much gratitude. And it's the same thing with her, because my spiritual gifts were opening up at the end of that partnership. But once it ended, I mean, everything just started to blossom. Everything started to blossom. And it's the same thing with this friend, because now I was no longer tied to how she had been growing in her own spirituality. And now I was exploring even bigger than before, which led me to people like Amy Michelle, who, if you want to really awaken your gifts, and that name rings a bell for you, that is what she does. She has a gift for awakening people. A lot of times it's hindsight that we are able to see why things end. But when we stop holding on with such a tight fist, everything opens up. Everything opens up. Okay. Now we're switching. I have my beautiful friend, Kleine, here with me. And she also trains in intuition. And she and I have been training intuition together for about a year and a half, if I have my timeline right. And then for probably the past 6 months, we have been going back and forth with helping each other intuitively move forward in our businesses. And so Kleine is here, and she has agreed to come on video, come on microphone, and I'm going to see what is it for her that she's holding on to in her life that's actually keeping her from her next level. So Kleine, whenever you are ready, feel free to come on, and anything that wants to come out of your mouth before I start channeling, or I might even release energy for you. We will just see what comes up.
Yeah, thank you for that lovely introduction. I remember the first time that I saw you on our intuition training call, and I was like, oh my gosh, this girl is special and knowledgeable and skilled and gifted. And I'm so grateful that we've been able to stay in contact and grow closer together. So
I received that, and I so appreciate that. And one of the things that I really want to tell this audience is that Kleine, I'm not sure what it is in our soul contract or like what it is, but my trust in Kleine is at 100%. Or as some people might say, at 111%. So 111. So I just want to say that too, because I don't believe that anything in life is scarce, including if you're on this podcast and you hear Kleine and something about her piques your interest, her information is going to be here. So you can look into what she offers and potentially book with her or check out some of her freebies that she has. So, okay. So Kleine, do you have something specific, or do you want me just to do the overarching theme?
So I would love you to do just the overarching thing. And a question came to mind about what you just talked about. If you're talking about how we can plug into qualities that we need
Mm.
or we can plug into qualities that maybe we don't desire. And I was wondering what, with this friend that you mentioned,
Mhm.
what do you feel like plugging in with her created for you?
Okay. Even though nothing's really good or bad, are you wanting both the positive and the negative?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, the positive first, definitely the ambition piece. The ambition, for those of you who know Enneagram, she's an Enneagram 3. And by the way, so was my partner at that time. Remember how I said I replaced? um, let's see here. There was really a belief within her that she could do anything, that she could do anything. And she had this ability to turn anything of interest to her into a way to make money. And so that was huge for me because before that, I honestly did not know that women really could do those things. I thought if they did, they must be, I mean, unicorns. And so she was definitely meant to expand me in that way. And so I was plugging into her conditioning in that area. And the other thing that's coming in is her father, whether it was money he made or that his wife made, they had a lot of money. And that was also very expansive for me because again, I viewed people who had a lot of money as the certain type of person. Either they got there really easily and they were lucky. Actually, most of the time, I just assumed that they were lucky because that was the programming that I had. I also had an assumption that they weren't caring people. I just had all of these assumptions about people who had a lot of money. I still have no idea how much she made per year, but not only did she expand me that wasn't true because she's a fucking amazing person. I just want to say that just because our friendship ended doesn't make her any less of an amazing person. I'm so grateful for that time that we had together, that we were soul contracted to be together during that time, to support one another during that time. Right. But then again, just seeing what was happening in her father's realm. And my understanding was that her stepmom was the one who made the big money, was very expanding to me. So those are some positives. Let's see, we're going over to the negatives. Oh, well, the first thing, and this surprises me, this is the first thing that came in intuitively. Um, Blame. What was resonant inside of me with wanting to blame others. I remember when we started CODA together, Codependence Anonymous, my therapist at that time had mentioned going to CODA. And I remember having this feeling inside of me of, why do I have to go? He's the one. He's the one doing this. He's the one doing that. That's ending our relationship. And so there was this blame piece, this blame of the other person. And so there was a deep resonance there. Even though I had worked on not blaming others in a lot of ways, it was the ways that I was still blaming others that I connected with. And by the way, she was the same. She was also looking at the world as a mirror. But we each had our ways that we were blaming our partners for our problems. As of right now, that's all that's coming through on that. Do you feel like complete with that answer? Yeah. Okay.
Totally. Yeah, I'm open to you just seeing what comes through.
Okay. All right. So what are you holding on to in life that if you let go of it, it will help you get to your next step faster? As I am answering these questions for her and on future podcasts, whenever I answer questions for people, anything you hear, you're an energetic match to. So at the time you hear it, you're meant to hear this information, whether it's information that lets you reflect on something that happened in the past and think, oh, okay, or it's something for you right now. So if you're listening, some part of this is for you. All right, so let's see. What are you holding on to? Ooh, okay. this idea of being this is the wording that's coming through, a broke solo traveler. There is some old programming, and this is really deep, really, really deep. I'm being shown this little seed planted at about 2 years old. And let me give a little bit of context. And Kleine has this on her Instagram. So Kleine, as a female, solo travels and tent camps. She may have certain times where she'll stay in an Airbnb here and there or book a hotel here and there. But for the most part, when she sets out, it's her and her dog Monet, and they are traveling and tent camping, and it is her by herself until the day comes when we can meet up and I tent camp with you, which I cannot wait for. I'm being given the image of a man with a scruffy beard and scruffy hair, and he is driving one of those old metal vans that some people might make a beach home out of, right? I don't know if you've ever seen this before. The image that's being given to me is someone who's just decided, I'm unplugging from society. Forget this. I'm going to just live in my van down by the river. I think there's a movie where the guy talks about living in a van down by the river. This metaphorical man is saying this. There is pride in what he's saying. He is so proud that he has disconnected from the matrix, disconnected from society, and he views being broke and not having quite enough food, wearing old clothes, having his mattress in the back of his van as the way to be. And he judges anyone else outside of him that isn't living like him because they're plugged into the matrix. Okay, let's get a little more clear on exactly how this is presenting for you. Because again, this is programming. Let me ask you this. Is this programming that you're aware of?
So yes, when you said that, a memory popped up, but I hadn't connected it yet. And I don't think it's a metaphor. My dad, growing up, I would stay with him like every other weekend, and he would talk about with pride when he was really broke and couldn't afford food that he would go up to my grandpa's house and he would hunt squirrels, and so he would live off what he's hunting. So the not having enough food. Yeah, and he presented it like it was a really cool thing to do, which I think aspects of it are cool, not necessarily cooler than, in all truth. And also he's had scruffy beard, hair. He's an old metal van. He never like
No!
yeah. He
Oh
never
my gosh.
lived in it, but it was like a old cargo van, and we would like play in it and all that.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is so, so, so good. I was given this story and these images, right? And you're sitting here saying, yep, for all of that. And the thing is, we all have this inside of us. We all have the ability to be intuitive and to get this information. In fact, we do it all the time. We just discount it. I've not always been aware of my intuition. I don't have the story where I was a little girl and I could see dead people or knew that my grandpa had cancer before anyone else did or anything like that. It's just really opened up over the last, it probably started about 10 years ago, if I'm being honest, if I'm really looking back at when it all began. So where we're going to go now is this seed. I'm seeing it going back to even 2 years old. So I'm going to go ahead and tune in to how we can clear this energy from you. What it's holding you back from is money. Of course it is. And so let me see here. Okay. I got drawn to, I have some some sticky notes over here of just different things that I look to. And what I'm seeing is your soul pull timeline, your highest timeline of your soul, what your soul wants to do, what your soul is here to accomplish. And one of the things that's coming through really, really strong is you're not meant to be broke, right? You're not meant to be this solo tent traveler, barely making any money, like, or anything like that. You're meant to really, as you go on this journey, because you have your own podcast and you have your Instagram and everything like that, you're meant to be so authentic, so authentically you. So right now, what I'm being shown is if the book of you is laying open in front of someone, they can feel you at about 50%. It is directly correlated with your openness to money. So right now, your openness to money is only at about 50%. So part of I'm getting of confirmation. So if your authenticity is only open to others at 50%, even 60 or 70%, you're going to find that you've got this dam on this river of currency, on this river of money, right? Currency equals water equals money. It's a maritime type of wording, like currency, water. Okay, what do they want me to say about that? Oh, it's part of why a lot of times when you tent camp, you're drawn to the water. I've noticed that. Like, I don't know if is that intentional that you camp where there's water?
Yeah, actually,
Okay.
it's a thing that I look for in every place that I camp, but it was kind of subconscious. I'm just like, I just like the water, and when it's hot, Monet can play in the water was my actual conscious thought process behind it.
Yeah. Yeah. And Monet is her dog, if we haven't said that. So there's a reason why you are with the water and near the water. And for those of you who don't know it, water has a consciousness. Water has a consciousness. You can even on Instagram, there's a woman, Veda Austin. I will link it. She has done all of these scientific experiments that have to do with water consciousness. And for example, she can take a petri dish of water. She can do this experiment 5-10 times. And let's say she puts it on a picture of a ladder, and every time she freezes it, she'll get an image of a ladder. And it's the same way she's done it with pictures of people. Their face will show up in the water. I mean, she's done so many experiments, and she has a beautiful coffee table book also that shows these things. What I'm getting is that the water is literally calling you there, and for you to work with it. So for those of you who don't know, you can work with water consciousness. And so this is one of I feel like I've given you in the past to working with water in some capacity. Is that true?
Yeah, I was just actually reviewing some notes on it. And also, like, I'm tearing up because a story just came to me. I had just gone on a hike. I was camping and I got a little sweaty, and I was camping in the mountains in Washington State. And so there was this like stream going by that was mountain runoff. So I knew it was cold, but I was like, how cool would it be if I just like jumped in the river and like washed off? And so I'm like, I want to record this for my Instagram. So I bring my phone and my little tripod, and I'm walking across rocks to get to the part where I'll dip in. And boom, I like fall and I nail my shin, and I have a huge bruise on my shin right now. And like the message I got was, you're doing this for other people, not for you. Like the reason I fell was because I was carrying stuff and just, not being careful, and really connecting to why I felt like going into the water. Anyway, I dip in and I lose my flip-flop, and walking back to my tent, I fall again and I nail my hip. But you're talking about how like water is a metaphor for currency. I was kind of wondering why that happened. I hadn't intuitively looked in, but it came to me with watery eyes of like, that was such a metaphor of of my relationship with money right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the listeners, watery eyes is another confirmation from our body of intuition. So pay attention when you hear something or you're listening to something, or the words come out of your own mouth, and you give yourself chills or watery eyes. Or what are some of the other ways intuition can feel? When you feel expansion. Yawn. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yawning.
Yeah.
Burping. As weird as that sounds.
Yes.
Yeah. I was doing a session on a friend a couple of years ago, and every single emotion I released, she yawned so big. I've never had anyone yawn that much. It was hilarious. And then I have another friend where every time she reads for me, she just burps the whole time she reads for me. It's so funny. Okay. Let's see here. Working with water. What was it that you were given to do with water the last time? Do you remember?
It was to speak emotions into water.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Because when we are working with water, the way I think of it is, so our fascia, or some people say fascia, it's a webbing that is over every single organ of our body. It's under our skin. It's around all of our organs. We've all probably heard of the pericardium, the sac that is around the heart. That's the fascia. It's how electricity travels through our body. And the thing is, water contains messages. I wish that I could remember the exact facts of this, but I just remember hearing that in the military, they would actually put codes and messages in water and somehow seal it all up and give that to someone so that they could take it and decipher. Sounds absolutely wild. I remember when I heard that from a reputable source and I thought, wow. And so, yes, when we are working with water near us to release emotions or beliefs or trauma or any of those things, it is so powerful. It is so powerful. I've got some stories around that too, but this podcast could be 2 or 3 hours long if I tell all the stories. But I will just say I've had some really big moments with releasing by the ocean specifically. So water's very, very powerful. You don't have to go to a lake, a river, or an ocean. You can be in your shower and intend to release in your shower. And the water will just help carry it out of your body because it's stuck in the fascia of your body, or fascia, again, depending on where you're from. And so when you release it, it comes out in the water droplets. It's giving your body permission to release it. So you can do it in the shower, as your bathtub drains, or you can just simply turn on the water faucet. I know that someone may be like, I'm wasting water, but that's okay. It's okay. It won't take too long. And you'll feel the feeling when you're done, not when your mind says you're done. Not when your mind says you're done, when you feel you're done. And for those of you who can do muscle testing, you can actually muscle test to know if you're actually done. All right, so let's see. Okay, what I'm getting is, while we can't release it all today, I'm going to go in and see what emotions or imbalances we can release having to do with the root of this issue at 2 years old. So if you have a thread in a sweater, and let's say it's hand knit, so it's kind of fragile, and you start to pull that thread, it's going to come unwound. And even later, if you go to wear it, it's still going to keep unwinding because it's no longer tied in place. So that's how this will be. It's really getting down to the root so that the rest of the emotions that are trapped within you, I'm getting that they're trapped in the solar plexus area and a little bit in the heart, but mainly in that creative solar plexus area. So don't be surprised if for the next 3 or 4 days, you're a little extra emotional. That does not happen to everybody, but I think for you, you may have that. And so just let that be okay. For those of you watching, I'm muscle testing. So I use muscle testing, which is just biofeedback from the body. I'm connected in Kleine. And so I am muscle testing for her. So if you're watching the video, When I connect my two fingers, if I say, show me yes, my fingers lock. If I say, show me no, they do not lock. This is something that takes practice. I didn't start with the finger lock. I do have a free workshop on my website that has learning to muscle test if you're interested. But what I'm going to be doing is using biofeedback to connect with Kleine's subconscious. And I'm also connecting with her higher self, asking her highest self, give me 100% accurate information. I have an app in front of me also, I should say, that I'm using. And there are columns and rows. And I don't look, I blind muscle test. So here we go. So it is emotions that we need to release first. So it is in C3, 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth one. So the fourth one is self-abuse, which underneath that is negative self-talk. We can also muscle test, is it yours or is it inherited? It is inherited. No. Okay. It is hers. Yes. 15, 16, 17, 18. Age 18 was when that got trapped. I'm going to clear that emotion. Some people feel them when they clear, some people don't. I did not used to, but now if by chance you hear me take deep breaths, I'm trying to breathe away from the microphone because they're quite big for me, but I feel a release every time that I release for someone. Let's see, there is something else we can release. It is an emotion, left, right, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we are in B4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth one is taken for granted. This is her. This is yours. 420, 420, age 27. So we're going to clear that.
I'm 26.
Okay. Let me see what this is. This lifetime, past lifetime. Okay. It is past lifetime. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So it's 4 lifetimes ago. All right. So I'm going to touch on that for a second. So not only if we're open to it, can we release things from past timelines that we have brought here for healing? We can also release things from future timelines, as wild as that sounds. And what's funny is I didn't remember your exact age, but as I got to the age, I had this feeling come up in me. And I've been practicing lately, not knowing people's ages and listening to the feeling when it's not this lifetime. And so I also appreciate that confirmation. It feels like there's a question from the collective of why does releasing from a past lifetime matter? Okay. This feeling, this particular energy of being taken for granted, it's actually been something that your soul has wanted to have the human experience of feeling. And so it may have gotten trapped 4 lifetimes ago, but then what I'm being told is you skipped a lifetime, but then the last couple of lifetimes, your soul has had it. They're really getting very specific with you. From age 3 at one of the lifetimes, it just kind of activated. It was already within you, but it activated around age 3. And then in this lifetime, I'm being told around age 10, something happened where it got activated. You can almost think of it like dormant DNA that comes online. You know how they say that there are certain gene mutations that maybe we have a gene mutation, but it might never turn on unless this certain thing happens or we eat this certain thing. Or maybe what it makes me think of is I've heard stories of people having no signs of schizophrenia, but then they do a drug for the first time and now they're schizophrenic, which now that I know about dark force things, I'm going, probably also a dark force thing. But that's one of the things. It's something that your soul wanted to experience. What does it feel like to be taken for granted? And you've experienced this on different levels of severity. So out of 100, it feels like in this lifetime, you've experienced kind of this low grade feeling at about 40% that people are taking advantage. That's the exact phrase that's coming in for you, taking advantage. Okay. Something else released around that. I'm not sure what it was. They keep saying gunner. like Gunner or Gunther. Okay, I'm gonna leave that. Does that even resonate? Something about a Gunner or Gunther? Okay, she's shaking her head no. I'm not getting anything clear about that. So we'll just put that there. Maybe keep Gunner or Gunther in your mind. And what happens sometimes when I work with clients is afterwards, they'll get certain signs as confirmation of what was said. Or it could be for someone who's listening also. And so again, whenever it is you listen, if you think, oh my gosh, that was for me, please write in. It's so fun to find those things out. There are no more emotions I can release right now, but you have an imbalance in the body that I can work on. There's a distortion in your magnetic field. We all have these magnetic fields around our body, and now they have equipment where you can actually take pictures of it and see it. It's not this made up thing like what people thought for so long. And so let me see what it's causing. It's causing a little bit of inflammation in the body. And what I'm seeing is it's an emotion in your electromagnetic field. So it's not hit the body yet, but because it's so close to the body, it is affecting. And so it's just causing a little inflammation. I'm getting kind of upper back, upper shoulder area. I'm going to go ahead and clear that. What it does is it clears it and resets it. With that one, I saw that as that one released, it's almost like it's been damming some things up. So you're going to have a little bit of a river flow coming out of that area. And in fact, I'm feeling a little bit of pain in my upper right, like a pulsing feeling in my upper right shoulder. So,
Can I mention two things?
of course.
One, when I'm driving for long periods of time, sometimes I can't remember which shoulder it is, but sometimes I'll feel that pulsing. And then yesterday I was standing at my mirror sideways and I just looked in the mirror and I was like, I'm kind of hunching a little bit. And then I was like, what? I think my heart's closed. My heart's closed. I hunch like that. And I was reading somewhere that lump right here in the upper spine is repressed anger, which makes sense why it would close the heart. And so I was like, okay, I need to practice heart opening or like embodying heart opening. So it's funny that you mentioned that it was the shoulders, upper back.
Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you for saying that, because not only I just always find that even though I trust what comes through, it's always really helpful to get confirmation. And I think too, for people listening, a lot of times we just don't get the confirmation that our intuition is right. But if we're talking with people who are tuned in and who are working to be aware of their body instead of ignoring it, and when we are aware of our body, we notice our intuition more. We receive our intuition through our physical body. So again, the fact that we have been taught to ignore our body, ignore symptoms, ignore how we feel, push the anxiety aside, push that anger down, don't cry, all those things, they're disconnecting us from our intuition. So I think this whole thing is so good for people who are listening to know this. We're going back to the emotions now. I'm going to ask if I fully cleared the imbalance. Okay, so I did fully clear that. I'm going to do some of my other things. I'm going to reset your relationship with the Earth's magnetic field. And then I'm balancing your relationship with it. And sometimes we can have distortions in our thinking about something. And so I also, without going too technical with what I'm doing energetically, I also rebalance that. And then I'm just going to download the frequency. The way that I like to say it is I'm downloading God, or the one true creator's original intention of how your body is meant to interact with the earth. So what I want to say is I've done it in all these different ways. It doesn't mean that you might not have to reset your relationship with the earth again if different things come in. but it will definitely last for a while and you won't have to do all the different parts. Because I did about 4 different energetic pieces to reconnect you with the Earth's magnetic field. Okay. Yeah. So now there's an emotion to release. So it's in B3, self-abuse again, not negative self-talk exactly. Self-abuse in regards to proper diet. And this is more about how you feel about when you eat things that you feel like aren't good for you. So that's really, it's the way you talk to yourself when you do that. So let's clear that. It's hers. Yes. Age 17 was when that got trapped. Okay, there's nothing else to release at the moment. I always like to put in positive statements. We've taken a lot out, right? We've aligned some things. Now I like to make sure we fill it back in. So I'm going to find some positive statements. What this is doing is it's working with beliefs. We can take out beliefs from the body, and we can also insert beliefs. Again, as wild as that sounds, my life experience has sure shown me that's true. Even odd, 1, 3, 5. Okay, section 5, even odd. 1, let's see, even odd, 1, 3, 5, 7. 7 is I am worthy of good health, which I find interesting with what came up about food just now. Okay. And then the last thing that's wanting to be said about that phrase is it's not just about food, right? It's the frequency of that phrase. So when we have good health, when we're listening to our bodies, we're just able to do more. We're able to have more energy for the things that we want to do. How are you feeling? Are you feeling complete with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I feel reset for sure. There have been other kind of beliefs I've been trying to set in stone, and toward the end there, when you were doing that clearing, I was like, oh wow, this is easy. I feel like I'm like over the hump of the challenge when it comes to building a new belief. So thank you
I
so
love
much.
that. Okay, so now line is also going to look into, for me, something that I really do want to know. What am I potentially holding on to right now that's keeping me from going to the next level? Like, what is the biggest thing?
So immediately when I tapped in, I think this is all going to relate to you stepping into your leadership energy, which ties beautifully into what you're doing here with this podcast, getting it started and finding your footing with how you want to present it to the world. Now, what are you holding on to that if you let go will help you step into this leadership energy here? I'm just going to speak it out loud. What I'm seeing is there's this beautiful big waterfall, and you want to go under it. You want to just like surrender under this beautiful waterfall, but you're afraid. Afraid to afraid of what will happen, if it will be too overwhelming, if it will take you to places you didn't intend on going because the water is moving so fast. It's funny that water keeps coming through. Afraid that it will hurt. Afraid. There's just a lot of fear to work through here. So I'm feeling called to ask you, what is the biggest fear, the worst case scenario, specifically regarding stepping into leadership? The phrase is creating your own creations, creating your own creations. What is your biggest fear when it comes to creating your own creations?
The very first thing that comes up is failure, which is something that I have been working through. I didn't even realize that there were so many things that I wasn't doing because I was afraid of starting it and it failing. And I've already done a lot of work around that, but this area is new, right? So I have new limiting beliefs coming up.
What's the specific scenario? It can sound so ridiculous, but what's the specific scenario or event or outcome that you're tying failure to?
What is the specific outcome that I'm tying failure to?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not super clear for some reason. Would you mind maybe rephrasing the question?
Yeah. Okay, she's wanting me to look at it for you. So,
Okay.
to be clear of like why I like to ask these questions, I usually like to have people see it for themselves versus me telling someone. But for you, it feels different. The word hiding, like it might be hidden from you because there's a fear of even seeing the fear.
Okay.
Yeah, there's multi-layered fear. Um, okay, so we're gonna go to the deepest fear because if we get to the deepest fear, all the other fears above it will disintegrate.
Mhm.
Okay. What I'm getting is being titled crazy, which results in people ignoring you.
Mm.
And just to bring some lightness to it, what I saw was you kind of running around in circles, like, ah, kind of like it's like the human version of running like a chicken with its head cut off. I know that's not a good, that's like yeah. Anyway, you're running around and there were people just like walking by you. It's like, it's kind of like a written off feeling, like you don't even get a chance because of this label that's on you. So,
Mm.
um, I feel like this, well, knowing you, this might tie into multiple areas of life. So it's not just about stepping into creating your own creations. This is something that if you want to um hit all the pins bowling, so to speak, working through this is really important. I'm getting that it's sprouting from your own perception of yourself. Of course, it's obviously not true. It's all perception. Um, so first thing is going to shift this perception that we want to rewrite what crazy means and identify why it's so important to the words experience you are coming through. So
Okay.
first, why is crazy actually a fantastic thing? A quality that all leaders have, by the way. And two, why why is it a no-brainer? Why your soulmate people, clients, listeners, etc., why is it a no-brainer to experience you?
Okay. So it sounds like you're giving me two neural reprogramming tools for me
Mm-hmm.
to start working on. So why is being called crazy like the best thing ever? Is it something like that? And what's
Yeah.
funny about that is that specifically being thought of or called crazy is something that I had really been working on there for a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because of the way that we're all programmed through movies and media and all of these other ways to think about people who are tuned into themselves, who are following intuition, who are following the call of God and our highest selves and all that. Just the ways we've been depicted has
Mm-hmm.
been like we're crazy. Not to mention that there was a time people were hunting for people that they called witches that were really called witches because they were connected with nature. Not that maybe, some people do things that are dark,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that helped people in the community heal with herbs,
Mm-hmm.
with essential oils, with energy work. by the phrase that's coming through is being able to channel people's greatness. Cause I'm sure it's the same for you, but since I've been doing this work, when I channel for people, I feel their greatness. Even if they can't feel it yet, I
Mm,
can feel if you, I'm telling you, person that I'm intuiting for, if you would just do X, Y, and Z,
mm-hmm,
you would be right where you want to be.
mm,
Um, and for some, it can be really hard to follow that because they don't see it in themselves. But yeah, so the fact you brought that up, I hadn't worked on that one for a while, but when I think this would be helpful for anyone who was listening, that when I was working on why is it the best thing ever to be called crazy, I just think about, say, Steve Jobs
mm-hmm,
or Einstein. Can you
mm-hmm.
imagine what people, or who was it? Edison, right? I think really someone else created the light bulb, but he got credit, I think. But still, even just think about people who've invented anything new were called crazy.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would think about, just because I'm doing things in a different way than mainstream society. And some of the people who are still in the mainstream thought processes, which, I was there not too long ago, the whole first, like 30 years of my life, pretty much.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
just,
question, how were you previously when you were working on the crazy thing? How were you, what kind of exercises did you do? Because it feels like there's like a missing piece of the puzzle for you, and
okay.
that's why it's coming back up.
Okay. Well, when I would do that, I would think about, um, I would think about Steve Jobs, for example. There's a scene from a movie in the 90s or something like that. That's where it was set back. And one of the guys loved to invent things. And he's saying to his friend, dude, what if you could like have a camera that you just held in your pocket and then you could like connect with other people with it, like just call them from wherever you are or send them written messages, like text messages, but he wasn't calling him all these things. And the person next to him just totally discounted him and basically called him crazy. And then he just let the idea go. He was like, oh, okay. So things like that, where, wow, imagine how crazy that was, or just the thought of us humans flying in planes. So the people that were doing that probably had a lot of people around them calling them crazy. So I was emotionally connecting with, oh, well, these people were called crazy and look what they did.
Mm.
So it was more invention. So maybe I'm not meaning to look at inventions like Oprah.
No, no, it's not that it's not inventions. It's
Okay.
that which this is still an essential piece of the puzzle, by the way. What the work you've done in this realm is seeing how people calling other people crazy is okay because it's their own thing, right?
Oh my gosh, that seems so obvious now that you say that. It's the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
So the part where your higher self wants you to focus now, though, is okay, okay, obviously there's negatives to being perceived or called crazy. Um, or I guess you could say there are negatives to the word crazy,
Mm-hmm.
right? Maybe out of touch with reality, um, running around with your head chopped off vibes, people perceiving you in negative ways, yada, yada, yada. There's negatives to that. But what are the positives? And I'm asking you this because your perception of the positive is the important part. Can you name a few different words that come to mind when you look at the positive aspect of crazy, whether it's you're thinking of the word crazy or you're thinking of that inventor that you just told the story of? What's the word?
Well, for some reason, when it was said, what's the word? I'm having trouble holding on to that. But what I was picturing right before you said that is my daughter. She's almost 9 and she'll just be acting really silly and having fun, and I'll be like, girl, you're crazy or something like that. But
Mhm.
it's the way that I look at that is it's definitely in a positive way, like
Mhm. Free.
free, very
Good.
silly, childlike,
Mhm.
um acting
Free,
crazy, like you
childlike.
are so
Yeah.
silly, and she'll make all these funny faces. It feels like that would be so good to attach that sense of freedom and fun that I
Mhm.
feel from her in those
Mhm.
moments, to emotionally attach that to the word crazy.
Yeah. But really what we're trying to do though is phase out the word crazy.
Mm.
Because anytime we think crazy, there's unhelpful negative connotations to that word. Not that you can't use it, or if it's like a unspoken word, you can still use the word, and if you think of it, that's fine. But we really want to place our focus on the positive side. So that would be silly, goofy, free, right?
Yep. Yep.
Fun.
Yeah.
Now there's that, and then there's also a leadership aspect too. Like, I want you to think back to that example you brought up of the guy with the idea. When you were telling that story, you were embodying this trait. Do you know what that trait was? And if you
When
want to
I was,
go back into that story of that man who had the idea, what if I just did that? What are you embodying when you're
mm,
telling that story?
leader came first and then wayfinder.
Mm.
Mhm.
Add that to the list. Leader,
Ooh.
wayfinder.
Ooh, that feels good. I had an emotional release just from saying that word.
Mm-hmm.
And then now I'm singing Moana in my head because she was a wayfinder.
I
What lies beyond?
love it. So now instead of rooting to being crazy is okay, instead of that, root to I am a wayfinder.
Okay.
And now you can see there's this bridge between what we talked about earlier, being perceived as crazy and being ignored.
Hmm.
It's the same thing. It's not that you're crazy, it's that you're a wayfinder. And because you're a wayfinder, that's the exact reason people should listen to you. And it's a
Oh my
no-brainer.
gosh.
It's a no-brainer. You're the wayfinder. So it's really leaning into that, because law of focus. What you focus on, you get more of. So you want to focus not on the people who call you crazy, but the people who see you as a wayfinder, like me. And then also focus on the words like wayfinder,
Mm.
because those then will grow.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. So if any of you haven't had sessions from intuitives where once they hit on the thing, there is a feeling within you and unlocking it seems so obvious, right? But it's not. And one of the things I want to say too is it it is more difficult to read for ourselves than to read for others. And I have chills as I'm saying that. So that really, really wanted and needed to be said here in this space. When we can pretty easily look at intuitively for other people unless we're too emotionally attached. But yeah, when I read for myself, I have to go through a whole process to disconnect. And I even have to picture myself like I'm up out of my body and I'm a client on a computer screen or sitting in front of me or something like that. Yeah, so that was so good. Okay, and then it tied into the why it's important for people to experience me. Okay,
Mhm.
cool. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Oh,
Yes, wayfinder.
I love that. Just call me Moana.
Yeah, I love it.
Well, thank you, Klein, and thank you for coming on and allowing people into your life, into what you're working through. And thank you also for reading for me. And just remember that if you were here for this and you heard this, you are a match to hear it. There's something in here for you. So, one of the things that I used to do when I would hear things like this is I would put up a wall and I would listen, but be like, if it wasn't something I liked, I would think, yeah, that's for them. Until a time came when I realized, no, it's all for me in some form or fashion. So you will have the most growth and the fastest growth when you really get to a place within your body where you know that everything you hear, see, taste, touch, whatever it is for you, for your soul's journey and your soul's evolution. So again, thank you, Klein, for being here.
Thank you. And it was my pleasure.
Thank you. Until next time, bye, loves. If this episode spoke to you, please subscribe and leave a review so others can find this show too. Your support helps this community grow and brings more voices into the conversation. Plus, I would love to hear your biggest takeaway. Thank you so much.